Well, hi everybody. Surprise. I decided to throw the camera on and do a reading tonight. First, I want to tell you a little story while I shuffle the energy into the cards. Yesterday morning, while I was preparing coffee, I was on my way out to take care of some things, just daily responsibilities, and I was fetching myself a cup of coffee. And I looked out my window and sitting on a thick wire of some kind. I think it's a Wi-Fi connection or something outside. One of the utility companies. There was a gigantic crow. I didn't think it was a raven. It didn't have a thick, full throat of feathers. Although the throat was thick, and this was an incredibly large crow. He didn't have the typical grayish eyes. His eyes were black and steely. And he looked directly at me, and he cawed it twice. Now, I don't know how to interpret a bird's caw. And I looked at him and immediately said, okay, you have a message for me. And he flew away. Briefly, and then he circled around and he came back again. Sat down one more time, looked directly at me, at which time he decided to leave. And it didn't frighten me, but it was on my mind. And I had been thinking about doing a reading for myself, trying to figure out what message this crow had for me. Big old damn thing, and good size wingspan. But he was sitting on this thick wire immediately as upon examining the situation. I thought there was a communication there that was needing to be passed on. Although I don't know what message he wanted to give me. That's why we're here right now. So, I have this book. I have this beautiful book. This beautiful book of tarot readings. It's called 365 Tarot Spreads. It's for the 365 days of the year. Now, to confuse things, or maybe even to enlighten things even more, what I did was I opened this book, and I wanted to find a reading for animal communications. And what I came upon, the only reading in the book that is connected to birds. It's called the Bird's Eye View Spread. And here it is. Now, the one thing about the Bird's Eye View Spread is the date on the spread is January the 5th. January the 5th is my birthday. So now I think the crow had a message for me. And I'm supposed to search for the message, probably in the only way that I know how to find it. I do not find messages in dreams so easily. If I do dream, I don't remember them very well. And so I think this is the only way I might find the answer. And I don't even know if this is a message for me, although it could definitely connect to my life in one way or another. But I have a feeling that this might be a reading that I'm supposed to communicate to someone watching this evening. So let's take a look. Let's take a look. In the first position, we ask the question, what is my position? Or what is this? First question asks, what is my situation? This is called the Bird's Eye View Spread. It's actually called that because January 5th is National Bird Day. Well, I didn't know that about my birthday. Now I know. Okay, so muddled by decision, confused about your path, taking a bird's eye view offers a unique way to evaluate your life and your choices. This helpful strategy asks you to float up to a higher level and look at your life from the bird's perspective. This wide angle renders small things as they truly are, insignificant, and focuses on what is truly as they truly are. Focuses on what they truly, it focuses on what is truly important in the grand scheme of life. So basically, it's supposed to render down the things that are meaningless for you and to rise up the things that are important, the most important things in the grand scheme. All right, now we're ready. Okay. First we ask, what is the situation? The second question asks, what I didn't see before. The third question, how do I best see the overall view? The fourth card asks, what becomes apparent when looking down from above? The fifth card asks, where am I heading? The sixth card, what is truly important? Number 7, what should I remember? And number 8, what is the message meant for me? At the focus, and I don't even know if the focus energy is important, but we want to see it. It's the 7 of Pentacles. A self-examination maybe of what you're building, what you're really doing with your life, and whether or not it's appropriate or whether it's going to be enough to carry you through to the next level. Now, let's take a look at number 1. We ask, in general, and this, like I said, I don't know if this message is meant for me, which it could be. I am a human being too. Although my readings for myself, I can't really make sense out of. But for you guys, I think there's something that's supposed to be said. First, what is my situation? The moon. So, are we in a moon transit as you're watching this? Is it a date around a moon transit? Is that important to you? It's got to be significant enough to describe your life. This could be talking about Scorpio. Is it Scorpio? Let me take a quick look. Pisces. Maybe you're a Pisces and you're experiencing something that you need a new perspective on. Maybe there are a lot of unknowns around your life. Secrets being kept. Lies being held on to. We may be talking about female cycles. Are you expecting a baby? I mean, are you anticipating, we should say, a baby? That could be your situation right now. It sure as hell is not mine. I don't know if that's the message that our crow has for us. situation, though, there may be some things hidden, some things unknown, and maybe that's why you're looking deeper into this reading. Maybe the crow actually has a message for you, but we're still trying to dig through the murk and find the truth in a situation. Whatever this is for you, something may not be revealed. There's something here that is very possibly not being revealed. Now, in the next position, what didn't I see before? Well, there's a King of Pentacles there. Now, if you remember correctly, I was working on a series about a year ago. Not quite a year ago. About 6 months ago, maybe 7 months ago. Called The Emperor and the Empress. And I do know that the King of Pentacles often came up as a King of Pentacles. The Emperor often made his appearance as the King of Pentacles. What you're being asked to see now may be the truth. The truth around that male element. The male element that we knew at that time as the Emperor. Maybe what you were not seeing at the time was the circumstance around the King of Pentacles, which he was not unveiling his circumstances at the time. He was being very secretive. There was something going on in his life that went deeper than what you could examine on the surface. He wasn't terribly apparent, and he really kept his activities quiet, very isolated, and sheltered himself very much. There was something maybe around that element. Back then, when we were doing the Emperor and the Empress readings, and maybe this is asking me to start talking about these two again, because this, to me, may be very much the message that our Emperor and our Empress need to be looked at again. Something may be coming up. Something may be developing again. During a period of darkness, though, what you have not seen is the King of Pentacles. He may have kept himself isolated. He may have kept himself quiet, isolated for one reason or another. Maybe he was covering a deception, or maybe he was trying to hide the truth from you around something coming up in his life. Now, I think something was going on with that man, though. Next, how do I best see the overall view of things? The Lovers. Oh, guys. All right, here's what I think. We can conclude that maybe our Emperor at that time was involved with someone else while he was involved with you. It was the secret that he was keeping. This is going back to our Emperor and Empress. This is the reawakening of this story, maybe. But this King of Pentacles, this Emperor, is very much tied up in another relationship. Whether he was an interest of yours or whether he was actually holding your hand and kissing you goodnight and telling you that he loves you, he was keeping something to himself. A choice that his heart had made over his head. His emotions made over his logical mind. And that's where this thing started to go off track for some of you. We're back to the Emperor and the Empress, and I don't know how long this is the message, though. I think the message is saying that the Emperor and the Empress are ready to come out. I think the winter is over. Hibernation is done. I think this Emperor, whatever he was doing in the overall, back then, that is the issue that you were not seeing. That was the issue that he wasn't exposing to anyone. He wasn't talking about it. I think he was probably leading you on, maybe keeping you around as a second, just in case this situation didn't work in the overall, that he had something that he can fall back on. And what he was falling back on is something that he was hiding. And the something that he may have been hiding was you, if you were the Empress. What he may have been hiding was you. Now, next, we're going to look at the fourth position. What becomes apparent when I observe the relationship, looking down upon it? The Knight of Wands, our Emperor, full of sexual energy, full of almost immature sexual desires, wanting more than he deserves, wanting to experience it all, but I think on a sexual level. I think maybe this energy had been laying dormant for a very long time. This King of Pentacles energy that is now coming out into what feels like his own. He feels like after a very long period of working and concentrating on the career, on the success, on the notoriety, he's finally come into a place of sexual desire. And now, even at his age, if he's in his 50s, he's in his 60s, he's wanting to taste every lip. He's wanting to feel every tremble. He's ready now, but he's ready to do it with a whole lot of lovers. And maybe this is the stage that our Emperor is going through. How does our Empress handle it? So far, I don't see her. She's standing back so far. We ask now, where am I headed? Whether you're the Emperor or the Empress in the scenario, we want to look at you, at your well-being. Where are you headed? Some of you are possibly headed away from it at some point. This feels very much like giving up on the situation. Giving up, maybe, on an Emperor energy that you were hopeful about. That maybe you felt had promise of being something strong and stable. But what you got was someone who was wanting to smell every rose and to taste every sweetness. And someone who was very much more devoted to what it was that they wanted to savor from life. I think for some of you, that energy, even if you felt you were the Empress, I think he had other ideas. Because this Emperor is out to taste life, every little bit of it that he can at this point. And by the way, that, for me, that Seven of Pentacles, to me, if you are the Empress, maybe you're looking at the situation and saying, you know what, I can never be enough for that Emperor. He will never be happy with just me. He is too adventurous. He wants to get out and taste every flavor that he can. And I think for your position in this, if the Emperor has been weighing heavy on your mind, it's time to move away from the Emperor, because he's really quite involved in his own adventure right now. I don't know if the Emperor really wants me to talk about him. But the Crow is saying, for someone, you're hanging on to the Emperor and his energy too tightly. The time is appropriate to open yourself up to something new. Something definitely more peaceful, more stable, happier, more content is lying in the open water in front of you. It might be an actual move to separate yourself from the Emperor, or it's that emotional and mental movement away from a situation so you can see your surroundings differently. You know, that Emperor's existence, especially if he's in your community, if you know him, if you see him on a regular basis, turning away is what you're really being told to do. Okay. Next. What is truly important? The Nine of Wands is that you overcome your feelings. That's what's important right now. Overcoming all that emotional baggage that you may have carried away from that. If you're still holding on to that Emperor energy, it's just not doing you any good anymore, especially if he's moved on. If he's still with you, if he's an active part of your life, then by all means, you're probably moving in the right direction. Although, you should know that he does possibly have a wandering eye. What is really important right now is that the fear, the doubt, maybe, possibly, probably, within yourself is being asked to let go of the emotional baggage that you're holding with that. It doesn't do you any good anymore, because when Spirit shows you there's something new ahead of you that you really need to move towards, but in order to do that, you have to get over the emotional baggage. That's what's important right now. Get over the emotional baggage. Next, what should I remember from this situation? The Three of Swords. How badly did that Emperor hurt you on this road? How urgent was your dismay and your disbelief and your disheartened feelings by the way he showed himself to you? Did he come across as something completely different? And then, out of nowhere, disappoint you, as if you were a tool to be used and then thrown away. I think that is the message around this Emperor, is some of you are still holding on to the Emperor. He is asking to be released. He was a heartbreaker. He was a heartbreaker. And now maybe you're being asked to be released, because now we're going to look at the message. And the message is the Six of Cups. Well, I think this person is nothing more than a fond memory of the past now. I think for some of you, depending on how intimate, how deep the relationship got, he will always be a fond memory. But in the back of your mind, you're always going to remember how it hurt you when you found out about the rest of the Emperor's life. When you found out how deeply he hurt you, possibly through other people, through connections and commitments, hollow, empty commitments made to other people. It was hurtful, and it felt like you were used. And so now I think the deepest message coming through for those of you who have been hanging on to the Emperor is now is the time to factualize that that Emperor is nothing more than a fond memory of the past. Put him behind you, think of him fondly, and then move on. Realize that there is something much better in front of you, but you have to let go. Some of you have to let go of the disruption and the pain caused by the Emperor. And I think that was the message coming through my friend the Crow. It was, I think, for you guys and for me too. I had an Emperor in my life too, and it didn't work out, and he is a memory of the past. Thank goodness it didn't get that intimate. I don't let myself go there. But for some of you, it's a wonderful thing. But in the end, it didn't work out. And I think that is the message that came through for the Crow. If he comes back, then I'm not done. But until then, we're going to let the Emperor rest. Rest in peace, Emperor. Okay, guys, if you want a reading meant just for you, reach out to me through my Weebly website. Over at Vimeo, I have love videos, energy videos for all 12 signs. Take a look at what I've got there. And I think that's the message for all of my friends who have been asking me about the Emperor and the Empress. And I think the Emperor and the Empress are done. At least for now. Until I get word from my friend the Crow again, I think we're going to leave the subject where it is. So be well. Thank you. Take care. And peace.